basically holding your accessories. The next accessory we're going to add to this is the cradle, which will hold our battery pack and hard drive. Or not battery pack, which will hold our battery and hard drive. And this, once again, is found in the accessories box. What you want to do is slide this through these rods here on both sides. So it goes in, slides right in there, and tighten it up. This, I would put a little bit more pressure on the knobs because you don't want this thing sliding off or sliding back. So just make sure it's nice and snug and nice and secure. This dangling cable here is actually down the road. One of our next steps is going to be connecting the power to the camera. So your battery goes on top and you plug that into the camera, into the power slot, and it runs the power, but we'll do that next. So now that we have this on, I guess we can move on to attaching the EVF to the Zacuda holder. The Zacuda holder, like I said, comes in two parts. This part attaches the EVF, attaches to the EVF, and this goes onto this little 15mm rod here. So what you want to do is have a screwdriver, and at the bottom here, you have little screws. You can see those. And on the Zacuda piece, you have a screw. So what you want to do is screw that into the bottom of the EVF. You'll have to play around with this yourself unless you can kind of somewhat memorize it from this video. I may actually be mistaken at some points. It's something that's a little bit finicky I play around with. There might be a simpler way to do it, but I'm not too sure of that. What I do is just make sure that the screw is at the very far back towards these little knobs here. And once that's at the very far bottom, that's where you want to tighten it. I pick the far screw, pop it in there like so, and tighten it in there. So I'm just going to do that now. And now that that's nice and snug again, what you want to do is, you'll see there's a hole here now that's going to go into our 15mm rod so it can hold the viewfinder in place. So we'll do it this way. Slide that in. Tighten your knob. And voila, you have your viewfinder attached. Once this viewfinder is attached here, you can loosen this to move it, the whole thing forward and back along the rod. You can loosen this knob here to move it this way so it's nice and comfortable to where your eye likes it, and so forth. So just play around with it. You'll see, play around with these knobs and you'll see what they do basically, and just, you know, fit it to yourself, whatever's comfortable for you. Now we're going to move on to the battery. The batteries are in box E. So this is box E here. I'm going to pop it open. And here are batteries. You'll see the batteries are probably being charged right now, but when you do receive the box, all 4 slots will have a battery in it, except for this here, which is not a battery. However, this maintains current for you. So that's what this guy does here. On all the batteries, before we move into it, if you press the little button on the side, it'll show you your charge. So if you look close there, you can see that it's fully charged. And that's high, medium, low, and dead. And on the actual batteries itself, same scenario. You can push a button and see that you have a fully charged battery with all red lights. And that's that. So what you want to do is grab this guy here. What this guy does is that allows you to change battery packs without losing power, without having to power down the camera, because it'll maintain power to the camera. It's kind of like an external power supply, I guess. So they're very simple to use. They have a little V shape here, and you'll see a V shape on this side. You start at the front of the battery holder, pop it in, and it slides right back and clicks into place. You want to make sure this is nice and secure, snug. Shake it around a bit, nice and clicked into place. Then you want to grab your battery and do the same on top of this guy. I personally, however, it's a matter of taste. You do not have to use this thing. I personally do not use it because, as you can see, it's pretty bulky, pretty high, adds not unnecessary, but adds weights to the camera, which I don't like having. So what I usually do, which you can also do if you like, is take your battery off. And sorry, for those who may have missed that, there's a tiny push button here you want to push that and it releases your battery. You'll just feel it slide out of place. Take your battery off. Also take this power supply off. I think it's called a quick changer. And you can also bring your battery directly onto the camera. So you just avoid the size, the weight factor, and so forth. However, if you're on tripod all day with no power supply, it might be practical to have it on because you'll never have to boot down your camera, basically. So we're now going to move on to one of the hard drives. We're going to get one of the two hard drives on. Very simple. This is one of the blue boxes that was found in box A, the silver red camera box. You pull one of them out and you'll have a hard drive and CF card in there. So we'll start with hard drive. This here is your hard drive. What you want to do for this now is you want to make sure that on the front of the hard drive, that's the front and that's the back. The front of the hard drive, you'll see red digital cinema written. Make sure that that is right side up, facing you, spelled correctly. If it's opposite, you know your hard drive is upside down. So you have it that way. And it's going to go into the bottom portion of your cradle. So you want to loosen your cradle a notch. And there are two rails here. When you're playing with it yourself, you'll figure it out. It's pretty self-explanatory. But these two rails basically slide along the grooves that you see here. It's very simple. And you want the front of the hard drive facing the front of the camera. So you bring it here and slide it down. And it'll slide right into place. If it doesn't slide into place, that's because your screws here are not tight. So you want to loosen these screws on this side even more. Then it'll allow it to slide into place. And then you want to tighten them back up. And you have screws on both sides of the cradle. And it's pretty clear. It says here, keep tight. Our next step now is the LCD monitor, which we're going to now attach to the camera. That monitor is found in red camera box C like Charlie. It's the same box that holds your matte box. And there's another little blue box in there, blue case, that has your LCD monitor in it. You want to open that box. And there's your monitor. Now, how do you attach this to the camera? There's a magic arm that attaches this to the camera. So we'll move on to that. That's what you're looking for. It's usually at the back of the box. This guy basically attaches to the monitor and attaches the monitor to the camera. So it's pretty simple. Loosen the knobs a bit. One of those things that when you play with it, you'll figure it out. Loosen your knobs and you'll see it's now flexible. You can move it around. Move it to where you want it. I like doing it straight right off the bat to get started. Tighten my knobs to hold it straight. You want to bring the viewfinder bottom screw, bottom hole there to, sorry, not the viewfinder, the LCD monitor bottom screw to the top screw here and tighten it right in. And before you fully tighten at the bottom, you just want to slide it along the plate and rest it nice and comfortably at the back over here. That way it's just, I guess, secure. And tighten it up a notch. And now we have to mount this to the camera. So you'll notice at the bottom of this, there's another screw. And at the top of the camera, on the handle, the top handle, you have a little screw there as well. What you want to do is put the screw in the little hole and gently rotate. Okay, so once it's nice and tight, remember this is definitely something you don't want to over tighten because you're going to shred the threading on the inside there. So, but once it's nice and snug, you can now loosen these knobs around and position your viewfinder wherever you like it. I usually do something like this, give or take. There we go. As you can see, that's, give or take a good position. And that's what that looks like there. And if you're getting glare or it's not a good position, you can once again loosen these knobs, tilt it down, you can move it closer to you, just start playing around with the knobs. And it's one of those things, again, that you'll figure it out when you play with it. There you go.